Ever wonder if there are lost books of the Bible or secret texts that didn't make the cut? Well, today we re-diving into a fascinating collection of ancient writings known as the Old Testament, Apocrypha, and Pseudepigrapha. Get ready, because this is a journey into the hidden library of early Jewish and Christian thought. So, what exactly are these books? Let's start with the Apocrypha. The word Apocrypha means hidden things, and these are texts that were widely read by Jews and early Christians, but were unincluded in the final Hebrew Bible. However, some Christian traditions, like the Catholic and Orthodox churches, do include many of these books in their Old Testament. They're like bonus features that add incredible depth to the biblical world. You've got epic stories like Judith, a heroic widow who saves her people from an invading army. It's a tale of courage, faith, and some serious strategic thinking. Then there's Tobit, a beautiful story about an angel in disguise, a quest to heal blindness, and a giant fish. It reads like a mix of a family drama, an adventure, and a romantic comedy. These aren't just dry historical texts. They're full of action, emotion, and powerful lessons. We also have books like the Wisdom of Solomon and Sirach, which are packed with poetry and proverbs. Much like the book of Proverbs in the Standard Bible, they offer profound insights into justice, wisdom, and living a righteous life. And let's not forget the additions to books you already know. For example, there are extra chapters in Daniel, including the story of Susanna and the elders, a courtroom drama where Daniel's wisdom saves an innocent woman. There's also the story of Bel and the dragon, where Daniel exposes the tricks of pagan priests in a very clever way. Now, let's talk about the Pseudepigrapha. This is where things get even more mysterious. The word Pseudepigrapha means falsely attributed writings. These are texts written by authors who used the names of famous biblical figures like Enoch, Moses, or Ezra to give their work more authority. This wasn't necessarily meant to deceive. It was a common literary practice at the time, a way of honoring a great figure and continuing their legacy. The Book of Enoch is probably the most famous of these. It's an absolutely mind-blowing text that takes you on a tour of the heavens. Enoch describes encounters with angels, the origins of giants, visions of the cosmos, and prophecies about the end of days. It was incredibly influential in early Jewish and Christian thought. In fact, it's even quoted in the New Testament book of Jude. Then you have works like the Book of Jubilees, which retells the stories from Genesis and Exodus, but with a very specific focus on a divine calendar. It's sometimes called the Little Genesis. There are also testaments, like the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, where Jacob's sons give their final words of wisdom and prophecies to their descendants before they die. These texts fill in so many gaps and give us a vibrant picture of the beliefs and ideas floating around in the centuries leading up to and during the time of Jesus and the apostles. So why didn't these books make it into everyone's Bible? The reasons are complex, involving debates over original language, historical origins, and theological content. Different communities made different decisions over many centuries. But whether you consider them scripture or simply historical literature, the Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha are an undeniable treasure. They open a window into the rich, diverse, and dynamic world of ancient faith, showing us that the conversation about God, humanity, and the universe has always been a sprawling, epic story. Exploring these texts helps us understand the roots of Judaism and Christianity more deeply. They show us the questions people were asking, the stories they were telling, and the hopes they were holding onto. It's a reminder that the biblical world was just as complex and full of wonder as our own. Thanks so much for exploring this hidden library with me today. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into fascinating history. See you next time.